Hail Internet, it's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. We are here today talking about the Lazarus Project, Season 1, Episodes 5 and 6. Paul, since you had already watched the season, you recommended recapping these two episodes together, and I can see why.
Good. I'm glad you approve of my decision now that you've watched both of them.
Indeed, indeed. Most of the questions I had at the end of 5 get answered at 6. And we do get the culmination of George's plan, the reset.
And for the viewers at home, you should know that Matt and I have not discussed this latest episode, and so you will get what our thoughts, to each other. Right.
Because sometimes we'll do like a little pre-video little chat, and we're like, "Oh, here's some points we want to cover." We have not done that.
And it's case. And so there's many points that I don't even bring up because, like, I already mentioned it to Matt anyway. Haha.
All right, so mystery awaits. All right, so we open episode 5 with a flashback to 2011. We then see Archie in 2014. Deep undercover in a gang committing armed robberies. She then gets a visit from Shiv. It's not the first time, we learn, due to like a reset or two. He tells her that she needs to give up trying to take down this gang leader, and he introduces her to the Lazarus Project.
Yes.
So he's her mentor, essentially. We end episode 6 with the reset. Yes. So, Rebrov has this great line like, "Oh, George, I hope you're already running."
Yeah.
And we have like, Shiv wakes up, immediately goes for his gun. All the players are rushing to essentially save their individual skins. It's a very effective ending. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
And that's where we leave off at the end of episode 6. So, Paul.
Yes.
What'd you think of episodes 5 and 6?
Yeah, I enjoyed them, even though rewatching them, and maybe I thought so in the initial, George is very, very lucky.
Yeah, okay. Well, I have a whole little written notes about how lucky George is, but okay, good. I'm glad you thought so too. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. No, any number of things could have gone wrong, which I know is a pet peeve of yours, which is sort of how could you decide to do this plan even though you were, know? And I guess it's never. He never says at any point that if he fails at this and he dies, that well, at least he died trying. Anybody who is a competent security person really should be making a lot of money in this world, because it's not only the
right. It's not just the Lazarus Project.
Right. No, it's not. No, it's the Russian government
the Russian
as well.
Embassy.
Yeah.
What are these guys doing? They all run up one at a time, completely caught unawares.
Yes.
You're like, your security, for one thing. It's not like, oh, it's the librarian that he shot. You're shooting the guy whose job it is to guard. He hears gunshots in the house. I'll just walk up the stairs. Oh, I'm dead. Man. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll talk about that. Let's table the luck that George had to undergo for We'll talk about some of the positives first, and then we'll jump into that. So okay. So that aside, George's luck aside, you mentioned you enjoyed it. What were some of the things you really liked?
Yeah. Well, no, I liked the learning. Initially when you meet the person.
Oh, right, the caretaker.
Yeah, the caretaker. Yeah. Initially, it's just like, he's an interesting person, and I don't think I immediately suspected him, but later on you see, okay, you should be suspicious of him.
No, it's great, and actually that was one of the big questions I had at the end of episode 5.
Yeah,
is like, why is this caretaker going along with this guy who clearly isn't in-law's glory, doesn't have the money? and the answer is because he's not the caretaker. He was with a mercenary team that killed the caretaker, and they were waiting for someone to show up with the detonator. So that all makes sense now. Yeah. But at the time, I'm like, please answer this question. They answered it. So yay, thank you.
Yeah. And, I'm not a rocket scientist or a nuclear bomb maker, but really you only would need only one detonator would work with this bomb. That's interesting. It's like, we want to get the full price for the bomb, so yeah, we need to get that one detonator.
I'll say this too, and this might be layman me, not understanding how nuclear devices work, which touche, I don't. But I would think I might think twice before having a gunfight around the nuclear bomb.
Yeah, exactly.
They're shooting pot shots off of the bomb. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a good idea. Anyway, so most of episode 5 is really about the relationship between Shiv and Archie. It's defining that, one of the reasons that she's having a hard time believing this evidence is because, Shiv was always so honest with her. Although I will say there's an interesting moment there in episode 5 when he's talking about being like, have you been honest with me or something like that? This is in the past. And he's like, yes, of course I have. Have I ever lied to you? Yes. But then he does say something like, yet. Like he brings out like, he's acknowledging there could come a situation where I don't tell you the truth. I get it. Yes, you're right. But so that was like, okay, interesting that, because she could be remembering that moment in time to say like, well, maybe this is that moment.
Yeah, and I think it's the second episode too when Wes is also talking about Shiv, and when she's going with George to go see the ambassador or whatever, and talking about how Shiv is more driven than anybody else in the group,
right?
And so how you could see that as then he should be the most trustworthy, but I guess. She's so different that it was still room in her mind that he could do something like this.
It occurred to me that, so we see the whole process. I mean, we'd already kind of been introduced to it, but we see it kind of in more detail. When you take this drug, you get these additional years of memories. You're going to get like a whole bunch of memories that are going to flood you at the same time. And I got to think at some point, if this show goes on for many seasons, or I have a feeling there's got to be at some point we learn about someone who took this drug and then just completely broke down. Like I mean, just imagine the sudden flood that comes to you. I mean, surely there's some, they've had a few side effects. They've claimed some people have been claimed by this drug. I would think that just couldn't take, oh, here's an extra 12 years of life. Whoa. So it would just be interesting to see, like, what that looks like in somebody. I really appreciated the fact that the detonation didn't cause the reset. I mean, it was kind of a fun moment. Whew, job done. Well, here. It's interesting how I'm still here.
And I liked how it's sort of like the way they were showing how it's more likely that there would be rational minds in charge, where it's sort of like, even though like the ambassador was suspicious of other, nations, still though, there was definitely, and Wes, I think, was saying how, what she got was that they're going to be responsible. They're going to be chill. They're not going to just rush into it, which of course made George crazy. But,
why? You're supposed to be hot-headed. I liked the little conversation, most of the conversation actually, between the caretaker and George on their little drive chat thing. But part of it that was interesting was when George brings up the Lazarus Project. Just to see if this guy knows about him. He's like, oh, yes. Like, and they always seem to be like one step ahead. Yes. Because they keep trying until they are one step ahead. So it's interesting that they're a known quantity. And then, of course, we see the Lazarus Project meeting with the embassy. I assume they're meeting as the Lazarus Project? Or are they meeting just as like, oh, I'm the English ambassador?
That's a good question. I don't feel as if they were explicit about it, because I think they would have name dropped it, or they would have had some illusion about like, okay, maybe next time you figure that out,
because it would feel like if they were that like connected, in other words, hey, we want a meeting with the Russian embassy, okay, that somebody would say like, what are you again? What do you do? Like, oh yeah, we time travel when things go bad, and then so what? So anyway, it was just it was a question I had of like, what?
Sure. Yeah. How much
you guys? How much does the world, I guess, know about at least the name, the Lazarus Project, or what they do? Obviously, the caretaker knows the name, knows that they do kind of black ops, but he doesn't understand anything other than the fact that, boy, they're really good at it.
Yeah, Matt, you're asking a very good question.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. Question to be answered in perhaps episodes 7 and or 8. All right, so be it. Let's talk a little bit about George's luck then. So it is a little funny that after his shootout with the mercenaries, he's on this at night in Romania. He actually kind of yells to the heavens, like, why is this so effing difficult? And like, I'm like, is it? Like, it's almost too easy. Like, I get it. From his standpoint, he had to kill a lot of people, a lot more than he intended to have to kill, and that's bad. It's difficult for him. Yes.
Yeah, and two is like, the truck with the bomb. It and then
it won't go anywhere. Yeah. You can't start it.
And they really made a point of it to have that car passing. After he, it's like, okay, where I'm going to blow this bomb up and everything. And then he asked Archie, how many people died or whatever. And so, that stuff bothers him. I mean, several times he's getting upset having to kill people and do all this other stuff in order to do it. And then that's why it was important for him to talk to that faux caretaker to be like, I'm doing this because I love Sarah.
Right. And I do feel like he ultimately is rationalizing it by saying these people aren't dying, even though he's been told like, well, things change and a lot of people will get written out of history, and he's still like, but they're not. I didn't shoot them. I'm just going to be. It's as though I didn't shoot anyone. So, you can see the emotional toll that it's taking on him. But just in terms of, acquiring and detonating a nuclear bomb, it took him basically a weekend. I go to Barcelona, I get a detonator. I figured out on my computer where it's located. I went there. It was guarded by a single person. I got in the truck with him. Okay. You
really should have thanked that guy. It's like, thanks for making my job easier for me not having to deal with these racists.
And you mentioned already the embassy. So like when he, when the bomb doesn't go off and then he has to go he goes into the Russian embassy and just single-handedly kills everyone in sight, like these perfect headshots. Part of the issue, the luck is part of the issue, I suppose, the main issue. But it's like single-handedly winning these multiple shootouts with the mercenaries. I don't think they've done enough to show us that he's like a John Wick level gunfighter. Yes, he did. He trained on some targets, but he hasn't even grown up in that life. He was a computer programmer for his whole life, and then he spent like a week or two learning how to shoot, which fine, good, but that doesn't translate to.
If they had some kind of localized, Lazarus room where you could really train for years or something.
I think this show has made a calculation, and probably partially because of the budget, but I bet you they are saying, you know what? Let's lean on the characters. And that's a great idea, right? They're compelling characters, and interpersonal conflicts are what make great stories. And they are doing it, and that makes great stories.
Yeah.
But I think they've ignored the trappings of their conceit, right? So, like, I would say better to err on the side of compelling characters than on the side of getting bogged down with technical jargon. But there is a happy medium.
It'd be hard to realistically do everything that he's done.
And so I just feel like there's maybe a little more technical jargon and exposition for me about the Lazarus Project to make them seem like an actual organization and not like a plot. They're a plot device right now. They're like, are you guys really what? How because the other part of it is they just don't suspect George enough. I get it. There's some suspect of George, but come on.
But not nearly enough. Considering.
It's a guy with all of the motivation to do what he's doing and the technical know-how. It's like, it's the app guy, and it's odd that all of the condemning evidence against Shiv is through his phone. That's odd. And you were in the same location as him. Oh, you had a shootout with him. Interesting. Yeah. Oh, and if we reset, you get your wife back. Huh. Well, you're like, come on now, please. Somebody.
Yeah. Well, the thing I've been telling myself is this is another universe, not ours, where they haven't needed rigorous security checks and protocols. You know, it's like something else I noticed in, like, you know, he has access to Shiv's phone. And, you know, I guess you could hand wave it away to say he's a tech guy, so maybe he would have some tech way to get into somebody's phone. But it reminds me of some of these shows where, you know, somebody takes the guy's phone and the guy's, you know, the person that they're taking the phone of is dead or unconscious, and they just put the phone up to the face, and it's like, in our world, that doesn't work. That's not good.
But to your point also, though, even if it's a universe where security is not a high priority, they've already been burned by that. Like, Reborov burned them bad, like shot people in the Lazarus Project building and left, and like, so they should have been forewarned. Hey, our agents sometimes get so emotionally compromised by our work that they go nuts. Maybe we should really, I know we've talked about this, I mentioned this in previous episodes, but I'm just like, it comes to the forefront again. Like, this Lazarus Project is just so casual. They're way too, you guys have this amazingly powerful device, and you're just like, yeah, anyway. Guys, when do you guys want to meet? Next weekend? Do you want to just hang out then? Like, guys, come on. Anyway. So, but as I say, I think that's the calculation the show. You're
right. I think they have. They put more effort into the characters, and
as I say, that ending
and really,
is
you know,
compelling.
this is and I think it was done in America, for instance. I think we'd end up getting extra episodes to underscore, you know, all the difficult things he'd have to do in order to make it more
would probably
plausible.
Lean too far into the technical jargon exposition side. I agree that it would be all shiny.
Or at least, you know, if you added a couple of episodes and, you know, really perhaps added another character who could make it more plausible or two, everything that he's doing.
When all those characters start running at the end of the episode,
yes.
You are. It's not
You're
just
ready,
simply chaos. You also know why all those characters are doing what they're doing, and that's great. You know, that's really cool. So we've got this scenario now, and I know you know what's happening, but
I do.
You know, for me, I am very interested to see.
Well, good. I'm glad. The characters are keeping you engaged, so that's, you know.
The Shiv thing, I'm like, I hope for his sake that he manages to prove his innocence. But the more interesting thing to me is George and the relationship with his wife, because I feel like that cannot be the same. It just can't. So what is that? Like, he's obviously incredibly happy when he wakes up and she's there. But
yes.
That relationship just cannot go the same. He's not the same person. He's being potentially hunted at this point. Like, it can't go the same. So I'm interested to see how that plays out, because I feel like when ultimately that relationship goes to hell, George will have this extra sense of like, why did I do this? Oh no! So that I'm looking for that. I want that comeuppance moment for him.
Okay.
So, anyway, so those are my thoughts. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that.
No. I think I was able to express most of my thoughts.
Very cool. We will be back talking about episode 7. As well as we're obviously in the middle of talking about Secret Invasion and Strange New World. So come on back for that.
All right.
Thank you as always, Paul. Appreciate
sure.
You, sir.
No problem.
And we'll talk to everybody next time. Bye.
Bye.